Hi, everybody. Welcome to our latest webinar from Intuitive Websites, How AI and Google Are Changing Buyer Behavior. We're going to go through a step-by-step guide of what you need to do with these massive changes happening right now with Google and AI and search and a lot more. I'm joined by Ray Cameron, who is the CEO of Intuitive Websites. I'm Tom Young, the founder of Intuitive Websites, and have had many years experience in digital marketing and presenting to folks about what's happening in the space. And Ray, you're going on almost 20 years experience as well in digital marketing. And I think we can both say
Yep.
that some of the changes happening right now with Google are massive. So let's jump in and let's take a look at those changes. And the bottom line is that people are still searching to find your company, but how that's happening is changing very fast. AI is gonna make people's search change from looking at a bunch of links and clicking on links to having a conversation with a tool about what their needs are. So today, what we're going to do is dive into this and talk specifically about AI and Google search. We're going to give you very specific steps that you have to take to deal with these changes. We're also going to talk specifically about what your content strategy should look like in the age of AI. And this is going to be for Google as well as all AI platforms that are out there and other new tools to come in the future. And then at the end of the webinar, we're going to take some time and look at some websites to see how you measure up and give you some input on your content and layout to basically tell you and educate you whether or not your website's ready for these changes coming with AI and Google's AI mode and so forth. So real quick, let's start with the AI search trends that are happening. These are four of the most popular engines powering AI search. And what we'd like to hear from you all, and you can use the chatbot to do this. What are you using? Are you using ChatGPT? Are you using Google Gemini and Google AI mode? Are you using Claude.ai, X.ai, or something else? Put that in the chat and let us know, and we'll add up the responses. From what we see in our research and what we read and so forth, ChatGPT is still the most popular tool for AI. But what Google's doing right now with their AI mode, and when they roll that out across their entire platform, I believe that Google's going to leapfrog ChatGPT and be the most popular AI tool out there using their Gemini product. So yes, absolutely. Tell us what you're using, and we'll let you all know what the responses are. Now, keep in mind, if you're using a platform that you don't see on this slide, put that in there as well, because more than likely that platform is powered by one of these tools, or even gives you an option to select one of these tools. So we
Hey,
see
Tom,
people are
I,
doing that.
I, I just got a note from actually a couple people said that chat's disabled.
Ah,
So I think if you open up your webinar chat window, I think you should be able to.
all right. Take a look now and see if that's been enabled.
Thank you, Chase and Heinrich, for letting us know that.
Yes.
Be
So
watching
go
for.
ahead. Y'all all should be able to do that in the chat bot, and then Ray and I will look at your responses and get a tally here from the folks attending. So yes, so these are the major players, and you're going to probably be using one of these. We're going to talk today a lot about Google and AI mode, but keep in mind that the principles we talk about, most of these AI engines will be using those same principles when they start displaying your brand and displaying your website as folks search for information. Okay, yes. So Ray, why don't you walk us through the evolution of search? It's important for y'all to understand how this change happened and why what we're going to train you on today is important.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll just for the attendees, I'm getting another note that chat's still not working. So sorry about that. We'll make sure it's on for our next presentation. But I've been looking forward to sharing this slide because in some ways it's the history of my marketing career, at least it parallels it. And when I started back in 2008, we were beyond the era of keyword stuffing, although there were still elements of it. But back in the day, in the late 1990s and early 2000s, you could put white text on a white background and put in things. If you're a car dealer, you could put in Mexican restaurant or anything you wanted, trying to get traffic on those keywords, and it actually worked. People did it, but Google got smarter, which is what this whole progression is, and it's expanded. It's actually been more than Google all along, but Google's kind of led the way in making sure, kind of holding us accountable to putting good content out there. So keywords was the big thing early on, and it was things like car accident lawyer, or just like a couple words pointing out something that you might be interested in. And then the next thing that came along, or the progression of this, was long tail keywords. So it became a little bit more phrase-like, with things like emergency dentist open on the weekends. Not quite full statements, but a little bit more information. And then the progression from there, I lost my screen, Tom.
Let me come back and share.
Okay.
I was going to see if I could fix that. There we go.
Oh, the chat. Then natural language came along, and people actually started asking more questions. And as marketers, we started thinking more about key phrases. So it went from keywords to long tail keywords, and then more phrase like things. And all this was changing how we wrote content. And then the next progression was to the user intent. So now it's gone from kind of the focus on us being what keywords do we use, to Google kind of forcing us to go beyond that, and what is the intent behind people's searches. So no longer could we write content with a focus on getting keywords in there, but the keywords had to match what we intended the intent to be, so that it matched up with what people were looking for when they came to the page or the website. And then from user intent, we went to the topical authority, and we're going to talk more about this with the EEAT, signals expertise and authority, trustworthiness. And this is where now the credentials behind the writers started mattering more, and not just keywords and not just intent, but actual experts. And a lot of sites that weren't really written by authoritative people started getting filtered out, and those that had real serious experts on the topic started getting more visibility. And then now it's turned into more this conversational type thing, where we're actually asking questions, getting an answer, asking for clarification, and it's an ongoing conversation now with AI mode in Google, but also the platforms that Tom mentioned, like Gemini and ChatGPT.
And if knowing this history is super important, because as you start to do marketing with your website, you might still hear a lot of companies say, hey, we got to focus on keywords, or we got to focus on long tail keywords. But this evolution of search has really changed how people are interacting with your website. And not only are they going to want to have this conversation with AI, they're going to want to have a conversation with your website as well. And that's what's coming in the future. It's in some ways, it's taken us back to this more relationship focused marketing, which is what we used to have to do before we had websites. But before digital, it was all about relationships and reaching people and talking to them, and sales conversations. That sort of thing's going to have a resurgence now, because AI is not, and Google is not, they're not going to give you a list of 20 links to go click on. It's going to start to be a conversation with a few links that are recommended. So it's a whole different evolution of search.
So the evolution that's gone along with that, it starts with SEO, and that's been the thing for years and years. On the next slide, and it represents the first group of those line items on the previous page. But that last one with more conversational thing, we're moving beyond SEO, search engine optimization, that's keyword and phrase focused, and now there's quite a few terms or acronyms coming up for the new way of doing things, or the evolved way of doing things. One of them is GEO, or generative engine optimization, which is, generative meaning that Google's actually generating its own content from our content and other people's contents, and giving its own answer, which is leading to what we call zero-click content, if you've heard of that, which means we're putting content out there, and Google's taking parts of it to combine with other pieces of content, giving answers right in the search results, and there's no click on it. And so our brand, being visible with that becomes really important. And then AEO is answer engine optimization, where we actually now have to optimize our content for this conversation, where it's question and answer. So FAQs are becoming more prominent. I would say in some ways there's a resurgence of FAQs both on pages that are about a topic, but we're seeing more FAQ pages. And so this is an evolution. It's been SEO for 2 decades, and now in the last year or two, we're starting to get new acronyms that define the tactics to help us and our clients be found.
It's such an important slide here because this really is the summary of that evolution of changes in search. And if you're currently focused only on SEO, you're going to be okay for a little bit, but you're not going to be okay in the long term because things are going to radically change. And watching Google, Ray and I have watched Google for over 20 years. They literally make changes overnight. So you'll come and open up your Google search engine, do a search, and you'll see, wow, Google now is only doing AI mode. They're not even listing websites anymore. When you go to Google, you're going to have a conversation and you'll have to switch your view to go back to the old version of Google. It's probably what they're going to do. And then they're probably going to display ads within that AI question and answer. You'll probably see ads displayed like in a column on the right, or maybe with special links or a little note saying this is an ad, and it'll show up in a box. So they'll put their ads in there as well. But this is what we want to focus on, is this idea of Google's going to take your content from your website and mix and match it as they see fit. And then they're going to also, in some cases, use your content to answer questions and create a dialogue. So that forces us to rethink how we do content and how we put content on websites.
So this is happening at different paces with different industries. And part of that's just the people behind the industry. Part of it's the types of services and products that are out there. But we're seeing more rapid adoption in the areas of retail, travel and hospitality, financial services. And with retail and financial services, the data showing that a 1,200% increase in AI type searches and engagement visits to the website since the middle of 2024. And then there's some industries that are a little bit slower to adopt. And industries like healthcare, they're doing a lot of things internally using AI for their work, but there's a slower adoption in terms of the audience using AI and it turning into traffic to websites. Now, people may be looking for medical, answers about medical topics, but they're not actually going through to websites necessarily. But when they are, it's websites like WebMD. So there's going to be varying degrees and pace of adoption. But what's the reality is that all businesses eventually will have a growing audience that are using AI. And so whether you're on the leading in the leading industries or in the lagging industries, it's time to do this work to be found and optimized for AI.
And what's amazing is that, Ray, if you remember back in the early days of websites, this was a similar thing. The people that grabbed onto websites early were retailers and e-commerce,
Yep.
and travel and hospitality jumped on right away. So did financial services, because they saw that they needed to. Their consumer base was there. They were early adopters of the internet. And then manufacturing, healthcare, and a lot of B2B firms were slow to adopt websites.
Yep.
It's happening now. So the companies that jump on this early, you're going to get an advantage over your competitors. So you can make that happen. And I do have an answer for the folks on the issue of the chat. Use the Q&A. So don't use the chat. So go into the Q&A part of the webinar and put in that Q&A what you're using to research in AI. Are you a ChatGPT user? Are you a Gemini user? Are you Perplexity? Are you something else? And let's get a sense of what the audience is using here. All right. Let's come back to our presentation. So what we want to do to be good at this new age of AI and search is to know our buyers, is to get deeper inside the head of our target market. This is an ongoing evolution of marketing as well. And so we're going to give you some tips and strategies to do that. First of all, understand that the AI-driven buyer is looking to solve a problem or enhance their life. They're not looking necessarily to find out about how great your company is. They're trying to solve a specific problem and enhance their life. They want to easily search for information. And this has been a trend, that's been going on forever within Google. And now Google's succumbing to this idea of, well, they don't want to click on 100 links. They want to know an answer now and they want to engage with that answer. Now, what we see from a lot of researchers is that ultimately they're looking for a product or service to solve this problem. And we want your brand to be found. And in fact, it's going to be critical that you do all kinds of things to get your brand known and found. Because ultimately, if we don't have all those links and all those pages displaying, we want people asking about your company and your brand. So more than ever, your brand name, your domain name, they're so important. If we want people going to find out about the agency Intuitive websites. We'd rather have that search than someone searching for a digital marketing firm. Well, it's the same in your business as well. You want people looking for your brand name. Ultimately, when they do that, they'll see your information and your pricing on your products and services. And this will then save them time and money and save those headaches of having to click around on a bunch of links. And then, of course, we want to make sure that you have great contact pages on your website, and that we have contact information within these content pages that we're going to talk about here in a second. And did we get some folks on the, oh yeah, okay, good.
Yeah,
That's working now. So we'll start. It looks like ChatGPT is coming up.
ChatGPT. Yep, ChatGPT is the big winner. We got a Grok, a couple Gemini, and somebody Perplexity. Somebody pointed out they're using the paid version of ChatGPT, which is an important note, just because with the free version, you get a question, you have that conversation, then it disappears. But with the paid version, you get to keep that record. I don't even want to know how many questions I've asked in my paid version of ChatGPT, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's going to live. It's living there forever, and got a record of my questions like there's never been before.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting because this concept of what the buyer wants, I mean, the data that's flowing from AI searches, it really tells us what buyers want. And we see this in our work. Buyers want to see benefits, not features. They want to know the real benefits of what your company does. So we've got to more than ever get away from what we call marketing speak content. This is content that really doesn't say anything, but kind of talks about our company or maybe talks about who we are, but doesn't really give people answers and benefits. We've really got to focus on this now on our website and in our content. And then this content has to have a connection to the personal story of our prospective customer. What are they going through in their personal story? What are they going through in their research? And then you need to be seen as a guide to help them get what they want. And when AI starts to index your website and starts to display pages and content, AI is basically saying this is a guide for this user to get what they want. And so we're going to display this content. This is the strategy behind your content. Because we will ultimately want to use AI to learn how your target audience is using AI. And in fact, we put together some prompts to help you do this. And that's basically the idea of going to your favorite AI tool and asking them how your target audience is using AI. And Ray, you put together an example for a dentist. We can all understand that because we all go to the dentist.
Yeah, I got on a dentist kick, so some of more of my examples are going to be about dentists as we go through this, and we'll look at the deeper version of what we're showing here. But Tom and I actually as we were preparing for this, we're originally talking about doing research to help you build your personas, but we don't want to give you a big task that you leave here going, oh gosh, I got to go build personas and it's going to be these long documents. This is more about something you can do when this webinar is over, or even while we're talking here. But just to ask one of these AI platforms, tell me how potential clients in my industry are using AI tools, and then list these, and then include examples of questions. And you can you're asking it to act like a marketer in some ways, and do a quick job of introducing you to your market. And even though you know this audience by putting this prompt in one of these platforms, you're going to, I think, learn some things, or at least be affirmed in some of the things that you know about them. But it's a pretty fascinating exercise if nothing else, it'll help keep you fresh and make sure you're not missing anything on the evolution of your audience. And then we'll actually look at some results on this at
A
the end.
couple of things I want to add to what you said, Ray. One is that so when you do this exercise, put in your industry and your target market, of course. So don't do dental patients if you're not a dentist's office. And then if you don't get an answer you feel good about, tell the AI tool that. Say, that answer doesn't quite work. Can you try this? Because when you redirect the AI, you'll get a more targeted answer. If you are in a niche industry, this is super powerful. And these are things that you can see results on in a few weeks, possibly, right? Because you can really identify those specific needs of that unique industry. And then, yes, you will see responses like this. You will start to see this is what people are asking about. This is what they need. This is what we have to have content ready to go for these answers.
Here's a couple examples. You can read through those, but we'll just move on from this slide. But I want to, something I thought of when Tom was just talking is, I think people sometimes ask, well, why do we need experts? ChatGPT and AI can just do this for us. But the thing here is that you as an expert know what questions to ask. And it's not just any question, you're actually having that conversation. And no one can have a conversation with these AI tools like a subject matter expert. So not anyone can spit out this information. It still requires a smart human that's an expert, educated, experienced in the area to get out of here the value that AI has to offer. It's not automatic. You have to participate, and your expertise is still important.
Yeah, because if you take any of these bulleted questions, right? So if we know someone who hasn't been to the dentist in a while is using these questions, let's say, then if you write an answer that's unique to you and to your brand that really hits at the heart of the matter, that the AI tools are going to see that as a more relevant answer and more important answer than a generic answer or even an answer that was created by AI. So the power of the human author, the human content writer is still very much there. What this process helps you do is be on track, be on target, know what those questions are, and then making sure you're answering them in a very genuine, honest, and straightforward way. And yeah, you did mention AI and personas, Ray, and it is a lot of work to do personas, but what we're doing with these tools is we're going to get inside the mind of your customers. We're going to use those tools to better translate your key benefits and risks, which is what people are looking for. And then we're going to use AI to get these insights into what those search queries are and what kind of digital content we can prepare to answer those questions and basically start to execute on a digital marketing plan using AI as a guide. So this is a great starting point to making that happen. Now, we do believe, and it's our view of the world, that websites are going to be super important in this age of AI because ultimately the AI crawlers have to go somewhere to get your content, and people still need to land somewhere to see your brand. Now, they might see your brand in social, they might get an email from you, but ultimately that website experience is still super important. And it's not about a ton of traffic anymore. It's about the quality traffic of the person looking for you, the individual who's been researching that's going to get queued up to become a customer or partner with your company. So let's talk a little bit about how to set up websites so that they work well and translate what you do in this world of AI. Yeah, we need to touch on user intent, and user intent is still so important. So many websites today are not doing this. Their web pages are not flowing with user intent. And if we want to see people contact your business after they hit your website, then the copy on that web page and the ease of use must match the user intent. And when we see that, then we get great conversion rates. And what AI is going to do is if AI can match that user intent, then Ray, I think we're going to see, conversion rates on websites exceed 10% or 20% because it's the site's going to be so much more focused. Right now, we see websites that, 95 to 99% of the traffic has no interest in converting. Well, let's make that start to change. Let's get people that are on your website with that intent to convert and become customers.
Yeah, those visitors that traditionally have come to your website to learn, they're learning before they get to your website and sometimes don't need that. And so this website content is helping feed those answers, which gets you brand visibility. But when people come to the website, that conversion rate is going to be going up because likely your traffic's going down because people don't need to come to your website as much as they did before. So just be prepared for that. There's nothing to have major concerns about. It's just something that we have to accept as things evolve. But it means that high intent content and that high intent structure of your website's more important than ever, because when they come, they're going to more often than before, they're going to be ready to make a decision.
And that's why our websites must be interactive and highly intuitive for the user, really match that user intent. We also recommend that you get smart AI chatbots on your website and start doing it now. Now, we don't see the adoption rates or the usage rates of these chatbots. It's not going through the roof yet, but it will, because as your customers get more targeted, your users are more targeted, more people are going to use chatbots, and they're going to be more comfortable interacting with the AI that is your own internal AI coming from your website. And of course, if you have an AI chatbot, you've got to have excellent content to power that chatbot. And then taking it to another level, we want to be thinking about how we can clone our top salespeople and our top thought leaders with their content and perhaps even their personality, so people get a sense of, what is this business really like? If I want to engage with somebody before I even talk to a salesperson, what's that going to be like? This is really the future of website engagement. And we know it's going to happen because it's already happening now with AI tools. It's just a matter of time before people get more comfortable interacting with AI on a website. And of course, your content must power this. And your AI tools can power a lot more than content. You can use it to build forms, estimators, functionality and code on the website, calculators. All these things can be built using ChatGPT, for example, and then executed on your WordPress website. And then that helps build this highly intuitive website and interactive site that'll have that high conversion rate. So let's focus on having a great website so that we can convert those folks and then also get found in the AI tools that are out there. And to do this, we've got to have a clear strategy to translate your value, and keeping in mind that that value has to translate to user intent and benefits. And of course, we must have a clear conversion strategy. These 3 bullet points here, you can go to AI tools and help get this outlined for your business. And then we've got to see it on your site. And then Ray, I know that this has been important to you, this idea of authentic and real content, content from of photos of your real people at your company, videos about your business. But talk a little bit, Ray, about what you mean by authentic and real content, because I know that the companies that do this are going to get a competitive advantage.
Yeah. Anonymous content, content that's written by marketers to achieve a goal. That's always been helpful. I think we've done a great job at it. We've been evolving with the always to make sure we're focusing on what's helpful. But I think there's going to be less anonymous content, marketing content, and more human content that it's attributed to people, because it's a trust thing for the readers, but also the search engines are looking for confirmation that it's coming from real people. And so general research is going to be less and less valuable, and information with unique insights that only an experienced person can offer is just going to become more and more important. And the humans pick up on that. People know when content's not authentic. People are pretty savvy about identifying AI content. It's hard to trick people. They need real content from real people. And so I think people see through this, and Google and the AI platforms see through this. So it's got to be really you with true insights from your expertise.
Yeah, like a good example would be the dentist office example, right, Ray? So if you take a dentist office, you don't generally hear from the dentist. But if the dentist at that office, or the key folks at office, if they were writing authentic content to answer questions, posting that content either through videos or through written content, that's going to be so much more powerful than a generic dental blog. right?
Yep.
So, if you know what the questions people are asking, then if and you're in marketing, then grab that key thought leader at your business and say, hey, I need you, I got to shoot a video with you explaining how this works. Then take that video, transcribe that content, and post it. That's the kind of content that AI is looking for. And you want to attach a name to it. That makes it authentic and real. And what's going to happen if your brand name is searched or any name within your company is searched on, then AI knows what's to display. And that'll be great content for folks in their research process. And then, of course, we've got to focus on the structured website. I know that we can talk we talk about keywords and SEO forever, but more and more we're starting to see that AI is looking at how your website's structured and organized. And if that navigation structure is not intuitive and it doesn't make sense, if it doesn't flow well, if it's not standardized, then AI gets confused and they'll go on to another site. They won't index you for that. We want to have very little content that's directed or that's generated by AI. We want to use AI as a tool. We don't want to use it as a content generation device. You want to use the word you as opposed to we. You want to talk in the language of your readers and talk to them. Talk to them about what they get, what you get as opposed to what we do, right? I mean, occasionally you're going to use the word we, but for the most part, talk to them in their language. And then the guidelines of EEAT. So we're going to jump into EAT here, and in fact, probably spend the rest of the webinar on EEAT because we feel like Google has set the bar, right, Ray? This is the bar for content is the EEAT, and it's been around for a while. But why don't you give us kind of your summary, Ray, of what EEAT is?
Yeah, I'm actually I want to go to a comment that somebody or a question that somebody just asked, and then go back to that second bullet here before we get onto that. And
Sure.
um,
Pull it up.
I want to make sure that there's no misunderstanding here that when we talk about using AI for content, we do not mean using AI to develop content and publish it.
Yeah.
And we're seeing websites, especially new clients that are coming to us that are concerned about the trends on their website, traffic going down. Some of them are even coming to us saying they've invested money in producing a lot of AI content, and we're seeing people get penalized. Just they're losing content because of it. And so, this is a big warning, just to not be tricked into going the easy route, because that easy route's not going to pay off. It could actually hurt you. And then we had a question: Is there a tool to help grade your content on AI friendliness? And there are tools that you can go in and plug content in, and it'll tell you what it thinks. I've found those to be not super accurate, but at least as a cue, and then you can compare that result to go and read it and go, yeah, okay, I can see why this would get a lower grade because it just doesn't seem to have that human feel to it. And the point on that is that I want to make clear is don't do it. Let AI be a tool to help develop content, but not a tool to create content that gets published.
Yeah, we recently worked with a client who we did an assessment for, and the client was producing 2,500 blog posts a month using all generative AI. So it was all AI produced blog posts, 2,500. Their total page count was in the thousands, approaching 10,000s of pages on their website. But then we looked to see how many of those pages were indexed in Google, and very few of them were. And then we looked at those pages to see, how interesting were they? Well, people are starting to get smart to what AI generated content looks like. It's just generic. It doesn't have that kind of heart and soul of a human, right? And so we recommended to the client that they stop doing that. And we think that Google is either going to penalize sites that do that or just not give them what they want. You're just not going to get the rankings you want. So you're ending up filling the internet with kind of junk pages, right? Yes, and I did want to make this point that all the things we're talking about can be seen in your website data. So if you've got Google Analytics running, you can see your visitor activities, the pages they hit on, and there are tools coming to show folks where visitors are coming from, what AI tool they're using. Ray, we're starting to see searches show up for ChatGPT now in Google. Is that correct? Is that accurate?
Um,
So we can see if a user was using ChatGPT when they came to a website.
Oh yeah, yeah, and to that slide on the industries, we have clients that their Chat GPT, other AI platform traffic is exploding, and others where it's almost like AI is non-existent. And so we see that
Wow.
contrast between the industries that are seeing the growth and those that just are. It'll be a while, but it's going to be important to get ahead of that.
And in the last few months, we've heard from clients for the first time ever saying that they have inquiries from people that showed up from AI searches. So that's
Yep.
starting to happen, and it's going to happen more and more. All right, so yes, let's get into the principles of EEAT, and how you can use content to get found in AI and in this new world of the online researcher. Um, let's say, Ray, do you want to walk us through what EEAT is? I know you've been following this for years.
Yeah. Yeah. So the uh, the acronym is the first E is experience, and I'll summarize all of these with this dentist example and just go to like you think of your dentist and they've probably been around. Well, they were in school for a ton of years, and then your dentist has been. We have a dentist that we've been with for 20 years, and so there's definitely that experience. It's been around for a long time. The expertise, they're thought leaders in their industry. They've they've had the experience, and then they really know what they're doing, and they can speak about it fluently with no notes. Um, then the authority is the demonstrating that they are a source to go to that can be trusted. And then trustworthiness, these all kind of overlap. There's a lot of overlapping between these, but trustworthy. Uh, and this is where we're showing credentials and education behind these names, not just putting names up. So we've got to be telling the story, not just writing the content, but making sure there's clues about these things both in the content and behind the content.
There's definitely overlap between these four, but there are four areas that you must focus on. And what we're going to do in the webinar is give you examples of content to fill up each of these four areas within EEAT. And let's start with experience. So these slides are going to be more or less a checklist. There's a lot of content here. We're going to make the slides available to you. But if you want to make sure you're showcasing your experience, this is the content you need to have on your website. And when we send these slides to you, you can literally go to your website and check them off. Do we have these things on our site? And then you can expand upon other things that showcase your experience. Because keep in mind, when the AIs come in, they index your website, they're going to want to see, is this an experienced person? Do they have the years of experience needed? And how do those years of experience compare against other sites and other providers? AI specifically looks for experience when recommending a specific solution. So it's also looking for experience in your select service and products area. So if you're a dentist and you have 20 years of experience in a certain kind of practice, that's going to help you. But you got to have that content on your website and let people know that.
Yeah,
Um,
if you've been shy about having your bio up on your website, stop being shy. Have someone help you get your story up there on the website and show that experience. That bio page about us on your website is really important.
Absolutely. And it translates into expertise because the experience gives you the expertise so that you know your services, you know your products. And this is what we define as thought leadership. So a great thing for you all to do is to look at your business and say, hey, where are we thought leaders in our industry? Where are we leading this space as far as how to do things? And as a thought leader, it can show up in many different ways. You can be a thought leader because of the processes and systems that you have in place to do what you do. You can be a thought leader because of something you've invented or something you've created. You can be a thought leader because you've just seen so much and you have so much experience that translates into an understanding of how to get things done. This thought leadership is absolutely critical for EEAT. And AI is going to look for thought leaders when it starts this dialogue and when it starts answering questions. Um, we think, that having really solid product and service landing pages is a key to this. We still see websites all the time on a weekly basis that have a service page with, less than 100 words of content, barely even scratching the surface on what their services really do. AI is not going to refer to that website and not going to refer to them as a thought leader. There's just not enough content there to explain it. So these are some key things to showcase that expertise. And then next up is authority. And it's easy to get authority confused with thought leadership. Authority is how are you a leader in the space? And this shows up with things like media mentions and awards and publications. Like if you've written a book, put that on your website. If you haven't written a book and that would help you, maybe you should write a book, because when you're a published author, that gives you authority, right? Links from other websites now show authority. If you have people at your business that speak or present at conferences, that shows authority. I love this bullet point number 4, explain how you get happy customers, right? That shows how you're an authority in the space because it talks about success stories with customers. AI searchers are going to want to see this authority, and it's going to build that credibility. And when you do this, have it be real people writing content. And like Ray said, have great bios and bylines. If go to great details on your bios. In fact, it's probably important enough now that you need a page of content on all the key people at your business with their background in their bio, because that's going to build that authority.
Yeah. Tom, I want to go back to the link bullet. And this is something that has been around for since the early days. Links have been a way that Google uses to kind of confirm who you are, but it's also had a progression like keywords has. And it used to be high volume links, and people would buy links from around the world, and link farms is what we call them. And those were great for a while, and then you actually started getting penalized, and you had to figure out ways to get rid of those and make them disappear because they were weighing things down. But
Yeah.
It's come to the point. This has been an evolution where it's even more true that one good link from another authoritative source is more valuable than 1,000 links from sites that have no domain authority and no expertise, no experts. It's just not. It shouldn't be a strategy to get volumes of links, but it should be about getting other EEAT sites and people, sites represented by those authoritative people, getting links from them. And one of those could be a really powerful and impactful thing for you.
Absolutely. And we're starting to see in our initial research with Google's AI mode that reputable companies and reputable brands are starting to show up more often on those searches, right? So you're starting to see it's almost like the Wikipedias, right, and the Reddits, right, and the New York Times, and so you're seeing these really well-known brands show up, and that's not necessarily good for other companies in that space. But if you get links from them to your website or have any kind of partnership with those other sites, that's going to help you, right? Because the AI tool will see you as well as an authority in the space. And trustworthiness of a website has to do once again with that human generated content. Avoid that AI content. And trustworthiness in a lot of ways is kind of like a check, just covering the check boxes here. Have a secure website with a secure server, SSL. Make sure you have a privacy policy. Use FAQs. Explain your terms of use. Have regular website updates done to your website. Don't build a website and don't touch it for weeks or months. Make sure there's regular website updates going on that shows that your site's active and can be trusted. Include tools for users, and this is where testimonials and customer rankings and reviews and so forth, they help with trustworthiness. I think if you're using real photos of your team and you have captions on those photos, that's also going to build trustworthiness for your site. And then, of course, make sure it's easy to find your contact page and your About Us page, your company information page. So this is the checklist to run with. Yeah.
Yeah. We have 15 minutes left, and I know our next few slides are prompts, example prompts. And since we're giving people this deck and making it available, I'm wondering if we can go through these quickly and then go to one of these examples where we use Gemini to show actually how we're doing this and how Gemini is helping produce some of this stuff.
Absolutely. I was thinking the same thing. And in fact, if anybody in the webinar wants to have us look at your website, put it in the Q&A, and then we'll pull up a site. But yes, I'll just really quick, what we've done is we've given you the AI prompts to go figure these things out and get your website ready for EEAT. And so we've did it for each one. For experience, we have examples. We have experience, expertise. We have examples. We have examples for authority, and we also have examples for trustworthiness as well. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but we'll send the slides and make them available for you. And you can also use general AI prompts to get EAT handled really well, like having a prompt for how do you write a landing page that uses the principles of EEAT? Can you review our website and find the EEAT gaps? How does Google's EAT work in our industry? These prompts will give you a whole list of content items to prepare for your site. Give 10 topics for effective EEAT in my industry. All right, so where do you start as we start to wrap up the training portion? Get your tools in order. Make sure you've got Google Analytics. Most people do have Google Analytics. We need to also have the Search Console, and we need a solid CRM with marketing automation. Our favorite is HubSpot. Make sure you use the paid version of ChatGPT or a Teams version. Basically, if you're not paying for the AI tool you're using, then they're probably capturing your information and reselling it. That's how they're making money off of that free content. And there's a good chance that whatever you're typing up in that AI is getting shared with others as well. So use paid versions of AI. Look at getting an intelligent chatbot on your website, and we can help you with that at Intuitive Websites if you like. This is really the future of websites as they become more interactive and more intuitive. And then be thinking about how you can use AI clones and agents, not only for people on your website, but also for your internal processes as well. It really can take your internal processes to a whole nother level. All right, we're gonna take some action. I do have a new book out, Digital Marketing in the Age of AI, available on Amazon, available on our website. This is a great resource for understanding how to use content and how to use AI to get those content ideas and generate that strategy. And your action items are, number one, get those marketing personas in order. Know your customer, know their AI conversations. The best marketers now will know how people converse with AI. Take the slide deck that we're going to send you and build out your EEAT grid with a content plan. So use our slides as a checklist and make sure you've got your content covered on your website, from services content to bio content and so forth. Make sure that you review your website for user intent and make sure that matches with EEAT. And then we also have a complete blog post that goes deeper into EAT on our website. We'll send you a link to that as well. All right, so let's go look at a few websites. Anyone that's
Actually, Tom,
interested in pursuing this with us, feel free to use this to book a meeting. But yes.
oh, sorry, I'm going to take a quick tour through kind of this dental example, and then Matthew and Jane, thanks for giving us your websites. Matthew, we'll go with yours first. I already plugged your domain into some prompt questions I have, and we'll put those up in a minute. But let me show you this example that I've kind of been referring to throughout this about dentists. This is AI mode in Google, and if you haven't used it yet, if you try and use it from your business account, if you're using Google as a business and you're logged into your business account, you can't get to AI mode yet, so you have to log in with a personal Google account. And what you'll see when you do a search is up in this, where you get to select what type of results you want, you can click on AI mode, and this is going to come up. And what I've done here is put in act as a marketing strategist for a general dentistry practice in the mid-sized US city. Tell me how potential dental patients are using tools like ChatGPT. Include examples of typical questions they might ask and how they are influenced by generated responses in choosing a provider. And so when you click this, you actually get some information about what Google's doing, thinking, kicking off 7 searches, looking at 117 sites, putting it all together, and then it's going to put together this response. I did this already, and potential dental patients are increasingly using AI tools like ChatGPT, kind of restating the question, but they're researching dental conditions and treatments. Example questions: what are the symptoms of a cavity? What are the best home remedies? And then they might go into finding a dentist, more kind of lower in the funnel. They're wanting to take action, and then wanting to know actually about treatment options and the different costs they have. And so this is an incredible amount of information. This is stuff that we as marketers have done for years to research for our clients. And now we have this assistant that helps us cut this down and do it in sometimes minutes instead of hours. And it's fascinating what we can do for as marketers. What this does is frees us up from having to do Google searches for hours and compile information and have it do it for us. But then our job is to dig into this and translate it into strategy. And so we're not, again, we're the SMEs too. We're the subject matter experts. We're not letting AI do our job for us. We're just having it help us do it more quickly and efficiently, but it still requires us as the experts, as marketers, to go in and work with you as the subject matter expert in your industry to make sure we put together a good plan for that. So let me see. I'm not going to go through any of these, any more of these, but I want to take Matthew's website, Direct OM, and I'm going to plug in this prompt. What is our website about? And then I just put this domain in. Simple prompt. And what this is going to do is, in some ways, this is kind of getting an idea of how Google sees your site. I mean, it is asking Google, what do you think of my site? And so when you plug this in, hopefully the answer is they nailed it. This is what my business is about. If you see something in here that's not on track, though, this is why we do this. This is getting a third party to do research on your business and tell you what it's about. And so I'm going to let this think. It's checked out 5. I saw it get up to 35 sites that it was checking to do research on your company, Matthew. So the website I'm not pronouncing this, directom.com is online presence for direct online marketing, a digital marketing agency. So it goes through here, and what you might see for any of you that do this is something that looks a lot like your About Us page or a section on your homepage. And you might look at it and go, gosh, that's better than what I put together on my own website for my About Us page. And so this is telling you what Google thinks your site's about, and you get to kind of take that as a grade of yourself. And if you think it's a B plus response, this is an action you can take to go in and try and improve your content to have it reflect more of what you're about. So then my next prompt, and this is where you see this conversation happening, is I'm just plugging in the next question that we used in the presentation. Acting as a marketing strategist, tell me how potential customers of this domain are using AI tools like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Perplexity to research their services. Include examples of typical questions they might ask and how AI-generated responses influence them. So I'm kind of rushing through this. I plugged in. I might word this a little more articulately, but here's what happens. Thinking 12 searches, almost 200 websites that it looked at, and in a matter of seconds, it's coming back and giving you marketing insights. Potential customers may use AI tools like ChatGPT to research its services in the following ways: initial research and information gathering, understanding your services, like what services does direct online marketing offer. Comparing agencies, AI tools can compare direct online marketing with their agencies. How does DOM compare with other B2B digital marketing agencies? And then personal insights. And you just scroll through here, and it's giving you insights about how your audience might be using it. And you can drill down. And I tested this. I've been using this on a couple clients recently, and it's really getting into kind of that what we were talking about earlier. Is this an industry that is having people really engage with AI and we're getting traffic, or is it not there yet? And that information could set you up to, are we in a position where people aren't doing this yet? And if we do it, we're going to be in the lead. And when people in the industry start searching, you're going to be the ones that they find first, because you're focused on getting found for this. So kind kind of a fun little exercise. This was kind of weird rushing through this. I'm having to read content. This just wasn't prepped, but it's kind of fun just to see what kind of results come through. Tom, you want to fill time while I
Sure,
think I'm going
there's
to pull in one of Jane's here.
royalford.ca is the next one. And if anyone else wants to have their website reviewed, go ahead and put that in the Q&A as well.
Okay. Ready? Here we go. royalford.ca. 7 searches. It looked like it hit about 60 websites that it used to generate this answer. The website's about selling new and used Ford vehicles, providing services, highlighting their customer service philosophy, showcasing inventory, offering a transparent buying process, maintaining strong community ties. Jane, how did Gemini or Google, the AI mode, how did they do with this summary? And actually, Matthew, you too, if you're interested, you can jump in and let us know how the AI search results were for your query. So there's another example. I
It would
kind of
be
wish we
interesting to
had.
see how what the online user, Ray, is searching for when they search for a new Ford in Canada,
Okay.
there in Yorktown, Canada. Because then one of the things we could do too is take a look to see how prepped Jane's website is for EEAT. Because people have options when it comes to buying a car or when it comes to buying a Ford, and what's going to motivate them to pick Royal for their purchase, right?
There we go. So what keywords or phrases would a potential customer use to find the site and the services? I mistyped that, but brand specific, Ford dealership Yorkton, Ford dealership near me. So you're seeing some traditional keyword or key phrase type keywords here, both brand and kind of location, new cars, used cars. I'm curious if it gets down into questions. It didn't get into the questions, which then we just say, what kinds of questions might they have in mind? And now we're asking it to go kind of a little bit higher up the funnel, not for that so much transactional keywords, but here we go. What are the features of a particular Ford model? So here's basically, this is a product page. This represents a product page. I think dealerships and car makers are good about putting these details in there, but just a reminder of how important those details on your product are.
Yeah.
That being the first question that comes up.
Yeah, so just for everybody to see what Ray is playing around with is what's called Google AI mode. And you can get to Google AI mode by having a Gmail address that is not a professional services email address, but a regular Google Gmail address. And then go to google.com/AI mode. And you can start playing around with it. And you should, when you find out the searches that people are using to find your website, go put those searches in Google AI mode, and you'll start to see what the user experience is like. So, like for example, Jane, who is part of Royal Ford and Royal Honda there in Canada, you can go in and put in searches for new truck or used truck or new car, and you put your town in and put those into Google AI mode and see what the responses are like. Because that's going to be the future of search. That's how people are going to start to get answers to their queries. Now, you will see some websites show up when you do that kind of research. Those websites that are showing up because the AI mode feels like they are the best resources to help the user get what they want. And your website could be one of those resources if you follow the guidelines that we talked about in this webinar for EAT and for all the content that we talked about.
Jane, I loved your response here. I asked, how did the AI do in summarizing your business? And you wrote, captured our royal treatment. And what I love about that is there's brand all over that. And you're proud of how you serve your customers. Your name plays into that. And the fact that you answered this question with your brand experience to how AI did that, it tells us that you're doing a good job, not just talking about Ford products, Honda products, but you're talking about how you treat customers. And behind that is people with experience who know how to treat customers well, people with authority. All of that, like your response tells us that you have that on your site. And it's a great foundation for probably a great story about what you've done already to get where you're at. And also that you've got a good foundation to continue to build upon with this AI generation of marketing.
Great, everyone. Well, thanks for attending. Feel free to reach out if you want to dive in deeper and have us look at your site in Google's AI mode and do a general observation of what's happening on your website. Feel free to book a time with me. Otherwise, stay in touch and look for more webinars coming soon from Tom and Ray.